to listen to our great professors and teachers and speakers this morning. Permit me to welcome Professor Dr. Mehreen from South Africa. And the topic she will be sharing with us today is very, very important on relationship in education. And she's also going to include bullying and suicide. So it's very important that we all listen to this. Remember, I said self-care, personal development is so important. Everything that people are doing out there depends on their mindset and how they've developed themselves. Okay. But before we move on, I would like to share quickly who Professor Dr. Mehreen is.
Nothing is heard. What happened? All are in silent mode.
For how long have you been?
Probably there is some network issue with our excellencies.
Oh
We are
wow, really? And I've been talking. Okay, you can see the slides. Can you see the
Yeah,
slides
I
now?
am seeing the slide, but no
But
sound. Then I was wondering what is happening.
oh my God, oh my
Nobody
God.
reported to you. Yeah,
And they did,
you are good.
Professor Kadudin, you didn't mention. I'm
I
surprised. You were
yeah, I was waiting.
waiting.
I
Okay.
didn't hear anything. I saw the slide, but I didn't hear anything. And
Okay.
I only saw
No,
Professor Mehreen mumbling away.
I
I
was
cannot hear
wondering
her.
the recording is on, but no sound. Generally,
Okay. All right.
yeah, take
Well,
care.
that's one of those things. Thank you so much, Professor TPS, for waking me up. Probably I'm still sleeping. Maybe that is why. Okay. So we also acknowledge Mr. Odukoya Olaniyi from Nigeria. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you so much. I believe you've done well in your PhD exam. So you are back to us. So now you need to relax for the result to come, isn't it? PhD. So you are joining the group of the professors. So
yeah, you have. Are you sure you want to join the club of all those permanent head damage?
no problem. My mentor will guide him. Okay, let's welcome Professor Dr. Ambassador Mehreen. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I greet everyone in your greeting of peace with blessings. It's such an honor to be here. And obviously to share with YYCI is always amazing because together, yes, we can. And we definitely will be able to try to impact lives with today's topic. I'm not going to delay any further. So let's get straight to it. Today, I am talking about relationships in education. And my angle is a little bit different from what you'd expect it to be, because I'm a firm believer that everything about anything to do in life always starts with you as the individual first. So when I'm talking about a relationship, whether it be with anybody, I first have to try to understand what is my relationship with myself. Do I even have one? Because how then am I going to promote that with others? So bearing that at the mind in your mind is how we will continue. Keep that in mind always as I go along. Remember that all relationships take time, they take effort, including these ones that we have in schools. And I'm basing this today purely because we're talking about the education sector. And we know that good relations with teachers obviously help a student. They feel this greater sense of belonging. They feel a sense of connection to the school community. And when students feel that way, that they're part of the community at school, then they're more likely to actually engage in positive ways at the school itself. And this sense of school belonging, it's influenced by their feelings, their perceptions about their groups of friends, the teachers, the school staff itself, the teams, the classroom itself, and making it important for them to have these relationships because the educational institution has to be healthy and positive all round to produce that kind of result. And in fact, relationships are very key to every student because they develop the sense of belonging, not just with the school. It helps them somehow to identify their belonging to them as a self. Why are these important for relationships in every school? Because most people seek out and desire strong social bonds, especially our youth of today. They tend to always, they're critical. These bonds are critical for them because they're always looking for a healthy bond, healthy development. The youth are always relying on other people to have this approval of them. You see them with their selfies all the time. You see them with their phones and social media all the time. They're constantly wanting this approval from other people. But such relationships that I'm talking about are also important because it helps them in their decision-making skills. It helps them with their problem solving. It creates a sense of social support for them as youth because they find that when they engage with people that are understanding of them, they have more trusting in those spaces. And I'll come later on with how that can be detrimental too, but that's where they're at right now. And relationships then become a very important part of that identity development stage of our youth. because that's where they try to find who they are in terms of their relationship and that validation they're getting. And that helps them in the transition that they have into the young adulthood phases. Now, young children, for example, and most of us here have engaged with many at different levels, they have very challenging experiences, especially with trust, with attachment. And, these can have very difficult times for them when it comes to them trying to find their social bonds in relationships with people. But worse so if that's not dealt with at a given time, now when they are children or the youth, it actually has social bond effects negatively later on in their life. And these impacts can create obstacles, whether it's with their friendships, whether it's with their intimate relations or with their partners. But all of that happens simply because in this phase, there hasn't been that guidance on their relationship value. There hasn't been that guidance with who they are with themselves before they know what to give off of themselves. And in a school space, as much as it's important for them to have their peer relations, it's good relations with a teacher that can help a student feel this greater sense of belonging and the connection to a school community, rather than just relying on your friends in a school. A teacher can be your guide. It can encourage you. A teacher can encourage you as a child to participate, to find that hidden talent that you may have sometimes that other people haven't noticed. But these are the huge impacts teachers have on their children. And this is why that student engagement and learning becomes huge. And when they start to figure that out for themselves in that school community, they build better relations. And of course, then it creates the sense of vital belonging that they're so badly searching for. That for me is key, because healthy relations between the students and their peers, between the students and their teachers, students and their staff, these are key to the student actually belonging. And when a student has the sense of belonging, they feel the sense of value for who they are. And when students feel they're part of the community at school, then they're more likely to participate in school activities or identify with certain school values and enhance their own values. Find what they like in schools and then invest in themselves to create better talents with themselves. That's definitely going to help them later years. Developing a talent in school becomes their skill later on. It could be a means of income. But everything surfaces in terms of the bond that they have and develop now in the education sector, and the bond that they develop within themselves through that bond that they're finding. Because relationship education teaches them, how do you build up these blocks of positive relationships? What do you gain from each of them? Because you do. Every relationship that we have amongst us all, we always have something that we gain from. Might not be an agenda-based relationship, but you do end up gaining something out of it. The point is, I have to know me. What am I giving in this relationship? What am I getting out of the relationship? The same with the student. Are you friends with your teacher purely because you like the subject? Are you friends with a specific person purely because you like the bag they're carrying? These are the different things, but you have to be aware of these things about yourself in the relationship that you are having. Because the key word for these children in schools, out of schools, friends, friendship. I have relationships with my friends. And these friendships that they have, if you speak to any of the youth, they tell you the friendships help them to develop their social skills. And it does in some way. Children who develop these life skills, how to work with other people, how to manage conflict issues. Because when they have friends, they do this daily. One friend would come with a problem to the other. They decide how to help each other through it. This is the role then that the educator will play in guiding them sometimes. If they build a good enough relationship with an educator to involve them in the space. So instead of the two children in a school sitting and trying to decide between themselves how to conflict resolute, they can actually have an educator who's their relationship-based friend go to them and say, these are the problems we are facing, and let the guide of the educator be the one that shows them how to do conflict resolution properly for the benefit that nobody gets hurt. When we're leaving the youth to become those decision makers for themselves is where we're starting to find the loopholes and the problems. This is where they start to feel, I got to take control of myself because there's nobody else that has time. And that's something our youth are desperately searching for. Someone who gives them time. This is why they build relations with their fellow youth, their peers, their students, because they're all feeling the same need of needing someone to give them time. And when somebody is giving them time, they're getting the attention. And when they get the attention, they feel they get the validation. And when they get the validation, is it questionable? Because what are we teaching our children then? Seek the validation in order to be happy with who you are? Why not try and teach them be who you are and be the leader in who you are, and then grow your relations from there? There's many different ways that we can help enhance this. But having positive friendships obviously is a good thing, because we want our children to have fun. It's, even in a school environment, it's not all about sitting in a classroom, no fun. Education is fun. You have to love to learn. And you have to love to keep learning, as I'm sure everybody on this platform is. We're all lifelong learners. We keep learning. There's never a time that we think we know enough, because we never can know enough. So children need to know that I'm learning even in my interaction, in the relationships I'm building. And managing these interactions is where it's important, because every relation that you are having, and as you manage your interactions, you are actually learning through the experience all the time. Experiences are your best lessons, not just a classroom. Your experience that you have every day is teaching you something too, about yourself, about people. If it's a painful experience, it's also teaching you something about you or others. But the point is, every aspect of life is key to building who you are in terms of the relationship you're having with others around you. We must remember, every child is different. Therefore, every friendship they have is different. And these children are continuously changing. Mentality keeps changing. Mindset frames keep changing. Likes and dislikes keep changing. Why? Because the friendships too keep changing. How often will our youth stay true to who they are as their friends keep changing? Not very often. Most of them seem to keep wanting to adjust who they are every time they meet or greet new people. And we have to question then, who is the guide there? Is it the parent or is it the school? And this is why, again, I'm a firm believer that one of the things we are lacking in the education sector, especially in my country, is a triangular role model of education, where our children sit at the top, and the base of this triangle is the parent or guardian plus the education or the educator. When a child knows they're valued so much that the base of their life is teacher plus parent or guardian, and the teacher and parent or guardian understands what the important roles that they are play in this child's life together, not separately, then we're building this holistic person in the child that we have. And then the relationship between this child, the teacher, the child, and the parent also develops through the schooling years into the person's life. But that triangular development creates for that holistic mindset. It creates for the holistic being of who that youth is. It makes it easier for this child to know, I do have a go-to space. I can have multiple friends, but my base, my foundation remains my parent or guardian and my teacher. And remember, we're talking about a triangle. Therefore, the parent and the teacher are not isolated from each other. They have to work together, because at the end of the day, the vision and mission is for the best priority of the child. What is the best interest of the same child? So we can't be isolated in how we want to work. We need to work together. Therefore, that too is a relationship in education. So there's a relationship between the child and the teacher, the child and the parent and the teacher, the community and the school. And every one of these relationships helps to impact this child's development as the child has to keep growing. And we know all of us are so passionate about our children. I'm not talking about our biological children. I mean, when I'm in a school and there's 1,000 children sitting there, I refer to them all as my children, because it's the positive way that we feel about them. And children are leeches of your emotion. When you are standing before a child, your body language speaks volumes to these children. Your care for these children means volumes for these children. Every day when I walk into a school, sometimes when I just say, how are you to a child, their face lights up. And I wonder sometimes, how is that and why is that? And I realize why, based on few consultations that I have with the children. It's because some of these children go home and they have nobody to ask, how are you? There is nobody at a home to ask a child, how was your day? Because life has become such a rat race that even parents or guardians don't have time for that. Worse still for me is I have children in my care or counseling sessions where they leave school at a specific time and they go home to being parents to their siblings until the parents come home at night. So those children take on responsibilities of adults while adults are living in the adult world. What happens to that child's mentality of being the youth, trying to develop who they are, when they're taking on the roles of others at this given point? So we have to also understand our children have got so many overwhelming issues happening right now. They're going to seek and look for that validation, sometimes sadly, in the wrong spaces too. And if you look at the triangular method of education, whose responsibility is it then for us to look for the signs that any relationship or friendship is unhealthy? The child might not know it's unhealthy, but us as educators, parents who are at home, we need to take the time for our children. Life is a rat race, yes, but the child is your responsibility. When you drop off this child at school, it's not that you've lost your responsibility, it still stands. So when you get home from work, the child remains your responsibility. You have got to engage. You have got to know what's happening with this child. What is going on? What do they like? What don't they like? That leads us into realizing that not all friendships are positive. Not all friendships can be positive, and it's important for us to know and recognize what is unhealthy for our children and what does a toxic friendship even look like. Because when we realize it, we'll be able to highlight it for our children too. And we can do this by talking about how good friends should behave. What kind of qualities should they be having? Respectfully, how do they speak? Etc., etc. And you need to encourage our children to develop this range of friends at school, so that inside school, outside school, sports clubs, music groups, family, neighbors, they understand that they're building these relationships no matter where they are. So when I have a friend in school, I am friends with this person in school. But when I'm walking in the mall with my family and I see this same friend, am I going to behave the same way now that my family is visibly seeing me with the friend, or am I going to change it suddenly because my family is seeing it? Do you know how often the children don't react the same way when they see their the friends like that?
Okay, Professor Mehreen, we continue. I think it's just a sharp connectivity over there. So I just want to, okay, yes, it's come back. Yes, continue, ma'am. We can't hear you.
Now can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
All right. So we were talking about children. I gave you an example. We have children in schools who have friends, and we have them walking in a mall with their family. And the scenario is when they're walking with their family and they see the school friend whom the family does not know, what will be this child's reaction? Will they be keen to go and meet the friend and introduce the friend to the family and say, oh, wow, mom, dad, or granddad, or whomever is the guardian, this is my friend from school? Or are they going to make a turn and say, oh, gosh, I don't want these people to meet my friend? Because that is the question. How many children actually have friends or behave in certain ways in school that are not what families know of? And that is something that we have to identify. And how will you ever know that your child is any different in school if you don't have that relationship as the guardian or parent with the teacher? Because then the only relationship you have is with your child. You have to know what's happening in school, and school has to kind of know what's happening in your home. It's not to pry in what's happening at your home. Nobody needs to know the details of your lifestyle at home, but we do need to know differences, because that is how we're going to help our children in how to cope, in how to deal, so that we can know who their friends are. We don't want to wait for catastrophe events to happen to find out, but he's been joining or she's been joining the wrong people in school. As a parent, you need to know who your children's friends are. Where are they from? That's not to stigmatize. That's not to give a status level. We're not saying that, but it's out of care and concern. Otherwise, how will they know? The parent relationship with the teacher is key. Problem we have in today's space, school right now, teachers are overwhelmed. They overwhelmed with numbers of children in a classroom. Teachers are overwhelmed because the syllabus has to be done, curriculum has to be done by specific dates, and stats have to be given out. Instead of the actual quality teaching that they used to be doing, it's become more administrative than anything else. So sometimes in a group, in a classroom, a parent or, sorry, a teacher is standing there and she's teaching 43 children. 43 children times 8 lessons a day. There's no way that teacher is going to know the details of every one of those children. Yet we want to tell a teacher, you need to build a relationship with your children. We want to tell the child, you need to build a relationship with your teacher. Parents are overwhelmed because they have got to make ends meet. Life has become so difficult. Some of them are creating 2 jobs that they're trying to keep. There's no time to even build a relationship for their lives with their children. How will they keep a relationship with work, with school? And when all of these things become so overwhelming, then everyone becomes recluse. Everyone becomes irate. Everyone becomes moody, negative. And that's how you have so many frustrations coming out in the wrong way. A child comes home and they want to share something that happened in the day. As soon as they see the guardian or the parent, they start to want to talk about it and they get told, just wait, I've had a horrible day. I can't hear this right now. What does that do to the child? It crushes the spirit of sharing, of wanting to let home know what's happening in school. And when the child is reaching out to a teacher, this teacher is so overwhelmed between trying to get to different classes, dealing with 43 kids at a time. They don't have the capacity and time now to sit with the child, even though they want to. Where does the child go? This is why we're suddenly seeing so many issues regarding bullying, so many issues regarding suicide attempts, because every one of these children who are doing this are feeling the gap. They're feeling the void. They're feeling the emptiness. They're feeling that I'm not worthy. Nobody has time for me. Why do I exist? And these are not things I'm telling you because it's theory. I'm telling you this because these are children that I counseled from these spaces, from the bullies themselves, from people who were bullied and victims, from children who had suicide attempts. Their answers are this real. Nobody has time for me, so why do I exist? Do you know what it does, even to somebody like me who's equipped to deal with this, to hear a child say that? And it's not a child that has no family. It's not a child that is from poverty homes. These are children that come from everything. Yet, what is the one thing they say when you go and you reach out to them and they're lying in that hospital and you're trying to find out, why did you try and do this to yourself? And the answer is, nobody has time for me. So why do I exist? That's twofold as a problem. Time. They're asking about time. What value does time have? Value of time is questionable in a child's mind. We have to ask ourselves, where do we as adults, where have we gone wrong that a child is sitting and asking, thinking, nobody has time for me? What are we giving time to? When our children are suffering and all they need is that little bit of time that can alter their mindset, that they will want to live. And then they want to say things like, I don't know why I'm here. That just destroys somebody completely, to feel I'm unworthy. I don't need to live here anymore. Why was I even born? All I see is problems around me. All I hear is the fights at home about money. All I feel is like, if I'm not here, it may be easier for other people. These children are feeling purposeless. They have no reason to have purpose. Even when you try and instill in them that they are loved, they don't know what that means. It's just a word. It has no feeling. It has no meaning. And when you want to meet the family, because then it starts with family therapy, you know what is the saddest thing that we find? The family themselves are distraught and segregated. In one home of 4 people, you have a brother, for example, on his own, the sister is on her own, the mom is on her own, and dad is on his own. Where is the family? Where is the unit? So where does everybody go to when there's issues? Where a mom has to text a child in a room, come for dinner. Something as simple as that is what's happening. It's rife, it is there. And when these children don't have the time of day given by the people that they love and need it from, then they execute it in the wrong ways. That's when you start to see the bullying happening. I need to show authority because I don't know otherwise. I need to make people like me. So I will make sure people do certain things that I like. Otherwise, I will do A, B, C. And then those who are withdrawn and are victims of this don't know otherwise about who do I go to? How do I fight back? And you know what happens when the child starts to talk about what happened in the day and you shut them down? That could be the beginning of the sentence telling you that the child was being bullied that day. And when you shut down that discussion when it was starting to happen, 4 weeks later, you get a call to say your child is in a hospital because they've attempted suicide. And you're shocked because what happened to my child? And I don't know anything that's wrong. And after therapy starts with your child, you're grateful your child is still alive. The child tells you, I did try and talk to you and tell you I was being bullied. You did not listen. What does that do to you as a parent? And suddenly you sit there and think, okay, but I just have so much else that I was doing. And then what does that do to a child? So everything else becomes more important than me? No, these are reality things I'm saying, not because I want people to think life is that negative, but for us to make the positive changes, to create positive ways, positive impacts out there, to stop these negatives from happening, we have to understand that relationship that I was talking about. And we have to enhance those relationships because we're not going to be able to change too much of the governmental systems that are in place. But with each one of us impacting one other family, one other person, one other child, we can try to impact that positive change in people's lives. So, for example, hypothetically, what I do, if I go to a school and I give a talk on bullying, I don't just go and give the talk and walk away. It needs consistency. You need to keep going back and reiterating what you are saying because children need that. The more they hear, the more they will absorb. And they will need to see the reality of what is happening for them to change it as negative to positive. Because nobody wants to live in the negative space. Nobody wants the mindset to be so negative all the time. It drains you. But let them understand the negative consequence for who they are, not what's just dictated by us for them. Never works with our youth. Have you tried telling a young child, please don't do that? They will still try. But if you give them enough reason to understand your reason behind why you're saying that in a discussion, and then listen when they counter you, listen to them. The countering questions children have for you when you give an instruction is not them being disrespectful. And children do that. There was a time I know when we were all growing up and an adult said something, we would never counter question it. We would never say, but why? Nowadays, children do that. And when they're asking the but why, please answer them. Because the but why and your reason that you give to them will make them understand and will make them listen. But the but why becomes, no, why are you disrespecting me? It's because I said so. So what are we teaching? Dictatorship? They can still respect you when you give a reason, because then the reason helps enhance their growth. It builds your relationship with each other too as a parent or guardian and your child, because then they know you're not just telling me something because you want to. You know what you're saying. You're giving me an understanding. So we have to build this all around because our children are going through too much. There's too much of self-harm that's happening. And it's not just suicide. Our children are cutting themselves, and it's just sinful almost, to say no other word. It's just really sad that Children are feeling there's no outlet anymore. And yet they are all of us who are here. And so one of the things I do is I keep going back to schools about the similar issues, number one. But number two, and this is a new thing that I've developed, especially because I've seen this many suicide issues from bullying. I decided that I'm going to go into schools, and we can all do this. Go to your schools, primary, high schools, and in those schools, identify children. It does take time, but once you do it, it works. Identify children that you can actually teach and train in these topics. So they themselves can go and train these same topics in their schools more than you can. Because sometimes I can't be in 12 schools a day. But the one school I'm not in tomorrow will be the one school that will need the help tomorrow. And then when something goes wrong in that school, I feel guilty because why was I not there? But it's just my diary is full. However, if I put somebody there that I know is trained enough, skilled enough, or knows how to get things going, it can work. And then all you do is you keep up your training. Keep up your training. And what are we doing? We're building our children. We're building our teachers. We're building counselors. We're building guidance teachers. We're creating jobs even by just helping people help other people. And that's the only way I believe that we can actually try to curb the numbers and the stats. And I'm not going to go too much into detail because I know there are other speakers too, but bullying is rife. It's not going away. It's getting worse. Suicide attempts are rife daily now. There was a time when you'd hear of a suicide once a month, maybe. Now it's a daily statistic. And we have to ask ourselves, the range between 15 and 24 is the stats right now for suicide attempt. Most often, before you would have the stigma attached to a child who has difficulties coming from the so-called broken home, or the child who has the issues coming from a poverty-stricken background. And you know what? That's not the case today. Today, we have no such stats. It's just every child and any child. There's no such stigma anymore. And it's sad. It's a sad reality. And I'm saying it's important aspects like this that we need to sit together and discuss to find solutions, because solutions are not based on just us having theoretical solutions. Solutions are environmental based. It depends on where your school is. It depends on your socioeconomic status. It depends on your psychosocial issues of where your school is, where the children are at. So all of these different things impact what solutions you can find in the space that your children are in. But sit together and be honest about what is happening, including the cyberbullying issues and the impact that's happening there. Kids are on social media all the time, and cyberbullying affects them. If you as a parent are just feeling, I give them a tab, I give them a phone, and then I have peace for myself, you're creating havoc for the child in your peace. You have no control of what that device is doing to your child. Who are they talking to? What are they doing and saying? Who are they meeting when they go into a mall? Roles and responsibilities are key. And when the role and responsibility is understood, then the relationship gets built based on that role and what the responsibility is about. And that is key for me. Our children need us as much as we need them. And we're always saying our children are the youth of tomorrow, are leaders of tomorrow, sorry. They're not. They are leaders, but they're leaders today already. They lead us today already, and they're preparing for tomorrow. Tomorrow is when they lead us. And if we do not set them up to lead us tomorrow properly, balanced, holistically well, then what leader are we setting us up for? So we need to be able to talk to our children, talk for our children, and build them up, because these relationships in education is important. I'm gonna end with just a very quick analogy that came to mind now. Relationship is two-word-fold for me. And when you talk of relation plus ship, you talk of a ship, right? A ship sets sail, and you have all these people that are on the ship. And all the people that are on the ship setting sail on this ocean, some may not know each other, but somehow there's a relation between everybody on the ship. If there's suddenly a storm on this ocean or on this journey, whether you know each other on the ship or not, you're going to all have to engage and get through that storm together on the ship. Whether you have a relationship or not with me and we're on the ship, but we're sailing through the storm. Suddenly we have a collective relationship because we're getting through the storm together. And when we reach the destination, we were unknowns to each other when we started. But at the end, when we got through the storm together, we have something to discuss and builds a relationship. So what helped that? Us being educated enough to know that on the ship, I cannot be isolated. I need to be part of something, part of a unit, part of a community. And as such, relationships are that way inclined. It's putting together something that can help get through something else. So let's build our relationships based on educating ourselves about first, what is my relationship with me? What is my relationship with others? Why do I even have that? And how can I enhance what is positive out of every relationship I want? And how do I actually get rid of those that are negative? We have to be real. Let's start building relationships with our children and listening when they speak, because that is key for us to help them build further relationships also in education too. Thank you so much, ma'am, for having me for today. I'll pause there.
Wow. Ooh, ooh,
Thank you,
I'm
Prof.
hot.
Mehreen.
I'm hot with your
Excellent.
presentation. Ooh,
Excellent.
ooh, 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 ooh. Excellent.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Excellent. I will continue to just be learning and also presenting this kind of teaching because it's very, very important. I mean, we see a lot of people, I mean, just about 3 weeks ago or so, a young person slash another young boy of 14 years old here in UK. And then there's been a lot of series of stabbing everywhere, every corner of UK. And not to talk of what is going on even in America, with people taking gun, going to school and then shooting both the teachers and the students. So there's so many, and there's something
Here,
behind.
Prof. Queen, just
Yeah.
to share with everyone, just 1 or 2 days ago, 2 of our policemen were shot. They came to the police station and shot. So two of our policemen died. So you see, everywhere
So
things
it's
are happening.
everywhere things are happening. And it's
Yes,
also based on what is going on in their mind.
yes,
Mhm.
It's all based on what is going on in their mind, what they're going through, in the circle of friendship they find themselves, what they are discussing among themselves. So it's a big job for every one of us, we leaders, to be able to help these children. Yes, like you said, they are already a leader. It's not the olden days where you have to nurture them until a certain age before they can take a position. They're taking their place now. And we need to be there for them. That's why most of this masterclass of YYCI is all about. We are training ourselves because that is very important. I mean, like you said, you cannot give what you don't have. So if you develop yourself, if you train yourself, if you listen and learn from others, then you'll be able to give back to the society, to our younger generation, because it's very important. So that is why we need to keep learning and keep knowing ways we can help, like you said. I mean, I remember when my own children were growing up, I mean, I have to involve in my children's school. In fact, to the extent that even the pupils were thinking, maybe I'm a teacher. I have to involve, I have to become even the school governor. So being in interaction between the parents and the teachers, I have to be their school governor. I want to know why this one, and then I was really focusing on SEN, which is special education needs. Why would they conclude that this person needs to be in that register? Because I know there's some funding somewhere from the government, but are we really assessing? Do we know deep? It's not only just a paperwork, like you said. So we need to really assess, because there are a lot of things, like you said, yesterday is different from today. What the children are exposed into today is different from yesterday. We don't know about computer before. We don't know about phone before. And even if you tried to guide your own child, You can't isolate that child. You still need to go into the school to mix up with other children from different backgrounds. So that is why it is so important. Any investment we make for our children, for the youth, is very important. I mean, look at my mentor, Professor TPS. He is traveling everywhere in India and even outside India, all over the world, and focusing on these students as little as they are, trying to help them out. It's not that they don't know that mass. It's not that they don't, but because of the situation they've placed themselves already, they easily give up. I mean, Dr. TPS is not teaching them mass, but it's trying to, to reposition their mind so that they will know. And then when they feel it, oh yes, I can do it, then they will do it. You understand? And that's what many of us need. We need somebody to push us forward. We need somebody, and it doesn't also need to to only depend on parents alone. Any one of us can help another child somewhere. I mean, Dr. TPS is helping more than 20,000 or even more than that children all over the world. He's doing it, but he cannot do it. He is not in UK now to reach out to all the millions of children in the UK. So that's why every one of us has responsibility for this. The more we can do that, it's even more better than running after money. Because if the environment is clear and safe for us and for the children, then we can do better. So I think on behalf of YYCA, we are still going to call you back for this topic part 2. I know you still have about 4 or 5 sections, but this particular topic that you just started with, we want to hear more. We want to play the video everywhere of the corner so that people can start reasoning. We are not here to dictate. We are here to reasoning. We all are expert. We are all are gaining. We all are full of wisdom, knowledge, and experience, yes. But we can do more. And we can learn more. And there are a lot of things that I'm hearing within this masterclass that started on the 1st of May. I mean, I have never heard it before in my life. And I'm looking young, and I'm still young. I still have many years to go. Because I know Professor TPS want me to come so say something, but I'm not gonna say that one. I'm still looking young. I'm still young in heart. But there's still more to learn from one another. That is why this platform is all about. So I want to say thank you so much, Professor Ambassador Mehreen, for really presenting to us this very amazing topic. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes,
So much for having.
I want to appreciate all our friends, our leaders on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us. Ambassador Rita Ilori, thank you so much. My friend, the name is in Croatia's language, but thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. We recognize your stay here. Thank you so much. And we also have our leader, Kiangui. Thank you so much for joining us. And on this platform, I want to appreciate Ambassador Odukoya Olaniyi. Thank you for joining us. Ambassador Joshua Adara, thank you so much for joining us. Professor Tosendra, thank you so much, sir, for joining us. And thank you so much, Professor TPS, for joining us this morning. Today is Saturday, it's a relaxing mode. So with the permission given, I won't call on Professor TPS yet, because when it comes to Professor TPS, is my mentor. So we need to be preparing for our questions. So it's not just going to rush to quickly present and leave us. So I believe he still have enough time for us this morning. So thank you so much, sir, for your patience. It's my personal mentor. If you want to connect with him, please do. I will show his email and also his website so you can connect with him. I'm drawing a lot from his wisdom and knowledge. He's written so many books, and those books, permit me to say, some of them, if not all of them, are free if you really join his website. And not only just download, ask him questions. That is how you can gain better understanding. Ambassador Joshua Adara, thank you so much. I hope your connection is free today because you are going to be presenting to us. I'm not going to work today, so I'm on relaxing mode today to listen to everyone. And I believe some people also will be joining us very soon. Okay.